Alright, hey guys, it's James. I'm the Sunday person. Um, Welcome to Trans Issues Live 101. Yeah, I made a mistake with the other video. But yeah, so here we are. This week's topic is, I interpret it as how we knew we were trans, or a trans identity. So yeah, I think from a very early age, I knew that I was different. I didn't know the word for it. I didn't know there was, a trans word. And I wish I could say that it was just it was just a different feeling. But I would say that I probably from about age 2, I knew that I should have been a boy, that I wanted to be a boy. From a psychological standpoint, I had all the characteristics of gender identity disorder in children. I tried to stand to pee. I would take my shirt off. Probably from the age of 3, maybe even before that, I stopped wearing dresses. I would take them off. So my mother just stopped putting me in dresses. And the one thing I should say is that even though I felt different, I wasn't treated differently. I had very I'm just gonna say open parents. They never forced me to wear girl clothes or girl shoes. So even to this day, I'm 23, and I still, the concept of cross-dressing is very difficult for me to understand, because I could wear whatever I want, so I was very lucky in that sense. And as I got older, I think the feelings became more stronger. And at some point, I heard the word transsexual or transgender, and I think I identified with it, but I chose not to accept that. I really believed that I just had to try harder, and I did. I've tried very hard to fit into my assigned gender role. I went to an all-girls Catholic school. I wore makeup. I had girlfriends. I was prom queen. I wore dresses to the prom and to graduation, and high heels, and and I even identified as a very, articulate, intelligent woman. But even though I fit in and I was accepted, it didn't feel genuine. It didn't feel right. There was still this melancholy in me, and there came to a point where I realized, I had to be me. I couldn't live. I just couldn't live being disingenuous to myself. It was just too difficult. And so at age 19, well, first of all, let me say I'm very fortunate to live in Chicago, in a big city where resources for the trans community, especially the transgender youth, are very, very abundant. And so I was able to see a psychotherapist when I was 19, free of charge. I was able to start hormones at 20 for $11. I had access to doctors and organ testing and everything like that. So I think that had a lot to do with me being able to transition smoothly. I'm sure had I lived in a more rural area, that would have not been the case. So yeah. And even while transitioning, I became more confident in myself, but there was still this sense of different. I knew that I didn't identify as a female, and I was finding now that I didn't identify as a man either. which very early on in my transition was troubling to me, very frightening, because it was kind of like, oh my God, you can only be one or the other. You can't be, if you're not one, you're obviously the other. And I was finding that I wasn't the other, so I didn't know what I was. And through a lot of self-appraisal and soul-searching and research within our community and a lot of reading, I began to feel more comfortable with myself as genderqueer. I began to realize that just because you don't identify as one, then you have to identify as the other, or that automatically makes you the other, and that's not the case. And I find that now that I feel a lot more secure in my identity, and I hope that makes other people feel more secure in theirs. So yeah, I guess that's my story in a nutshell. So yeah, I guess my word of advice is just to, be honest with yourself. Sometimes it takes a long time to not necessarily identify, but to be self-accepting, For instance, I knew that I was different and that I was trans, probably before I was a teenager, but I didn't accept it. So it took me a lot of soul searching to accept that, and I guess that's just what I want for everybody out there, is just to know that just because I don't know, you don't have to fight with yourself, and just because you think that you feel one way today doesn't necessarily mean that you have to feel that way for the rest of your life. Yeah. Just because you identify as a boy today doesn't mean you have to identify as one tomorrow or the next day, Everything in life is fluid, and I feel like, if more of the world embraced that, we would be such a cool, race, or human race, So yeah, that's basically my thing, my spiel. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this uploaded, and I hope you guys have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye bye.